So in the last part of the tutorial, we made sure that we could equip all our items correctly. In this part, we would like to focus on the character panel opening and closing and showing the stats of the items. So first of all, before we start showing the stats, I would like to open and close the character panel, because opening and closing the character panel also opens up some other opportunities for us. For example, we'll be able to pick up the items and drop them on the ground, or put them back into the inventory, and we'll be able to see the tooltip when we mouse over the different slots. So to be able to open and close the character panel, we need to set the alpha to 0. So the difference between our character panel and the other inventories is that the character panel's alpha or canvas group is sitting on a parent object. So if we would take this parent object and set it the alpha to 0, it disappears. But there is one problem, because if we look at the other objects here, the other inventories, then we have the canvas group directly on them, which means that if we go into our inventory here and go to open inventory, if we could find it, we have an open here, it just takes the canvas group .alpha and checks if it's larger than 0. And this canvas group itself is found up here in start, where we say canvas group equals get component. But we will not be able to do that on our character panel, because the canvas group is not sitting directly on the game object itself. It's on a parent. So we need to change this from being found like this. We can delete this, and we need to make it public up here so we can assign it ourselves. So if we take the canvas group here and make it public and save, and then we jump back into our game, then we can take the character panel here, and we can go all the way to the character panel script and see that there is a canvas group here, and this one is already assigned. If it isn't assigned, then take the character panel holder and drag all the way down here and assign it like this. If we go to our inventory, we'll see that it also has a canvas group assigned to it. If it doesn't have it, then take the inventory itself and drag it onto here, and the same goes for the chest inventory. Drag it onto itself here, so that you're sure that it's assigned. So when you've done that, we can save again, and then we need to go into our player, because in here in our player we are opening and closing stuff, and we can open and close our bags and our chest. So basically we need to open and close our character panel on C, so we can copy paste this here, and we can say input.get key down C instead, and then we need to change this code here, so we are opening the character panel instead. But right now we don't have a reference to the character panel, and we need to make that reference. So up here in our fields, we can go under our inventory, say public inventory char panel, and down here under C we need to use char panel if it's not null, and then we're going to say char panel.open. So when we save this, we jump back into Unity, then we go to the player, and we are going to find the player script and find the char panel here, and as you can see, non-inventory, we're going to take the char panel itself and drag it onto that slot, so that we have the char panel. So notice that even though I wrote that we want an inventory, then I'm still able to put on the char panel in here. And the reason that I'm able to add the char panel is because the char panel is inheriting from inventory. So the char panel is also considered of type inventory, so I can add it out there without any problems. So let's try to run this. So everything is closed. I can press C to open my inventory and char panel, and I can press C to close it again. So let's see if I have a ring. I can still put it in the correct place if I could remember where it is. There we go. And now you can see that our tooltip is suddenly popping up. And you might, if you're playing this in full screen, the tooltip is not fitting correctly if we do like this, and we are going to fix that later. Don't worry about it. Oops, I think I pressed play before I pressed max. As you can see, if I pick something up and I open my char panel and equip this, you will see that the sort tooltip goes over the edge of this slot here. So we're going to fix that later. And now you can see I can click on the sort here and it just disappears. So we also need to fix that. Apparently it just dropped on the ground. So there's also something there clearly we need to fix. And now I'm flying. So let's see if I can click here. And it just drops. So we need to fix that. When we click on an item, we of course don't need to drop it. We should pick it up in our hand. And then we should of course be able to put it back into our inventory. So just like that. So let's look why it does that. So I already have a feeling I know why it is. I think because if I click on the jar panel, you'll see that all the triggers here has not been set, and we're using those triggers to figure out if we are inside or outside an inventory. And if we are outside an inventory, then we need to drop the items on the ground when we click. And right now we're not getting inside an inventory in any way when we click, when we mouse over our jar panel. If you know what I mean, because here on a normal inventory, we enter it here and we exit it now. And when we enter it and we click on something, we're just picking it up. But right now we're not entering anything, so it thinks that we are in thin air here, just out in the air. So when I click on this one, it thinks that I just clicked somewhere, so that I should drop the item here. So we need to assign these. We can check the jar panel and put it into every single slot here, just like that. So pointer exit should be under jar panel, and then it should be pointer exit, and go here, jar panel, pointer exit, and what is this, drag, jar panel. There should also be some on drag here. There we go. Let's try one more time. Let's pick up our items, right click on the boots and click on the boots, and we are still dropping them apparently. Yep. So that was not what was wrong. Or actually it is. Let's see, I picked the wrong one here. Sorry if I'm messing it around. The character panel pointer exit has been set as enter. So let's try to put character panel and enter, if I could hit correctly. And let's give it another go. Let's see what happens. If I could pick up a weapon or something. Yeah, there we go. And if I click now, I pick it up in my hand instead, and I can put it back into the inventory. Can equip it again, and I can pick it up and drop it on the ground if that's what you want. What I want. Okay, so it was what I originally thought. I was just stupid and I picked the wrong function here. So make sure that you pick the right functions when you select these events out here for the character panel. So now that we can do that, let's make sure that we can show the tooltip correctly, because as you saw before, right now when we equip something, the tooltip is in the way and it's going to flicker around now if we do like this. So what we can do is that we can change the origin point of our slots here, because we can actually just place our tooltip at this point here. Right now we are using this point, we're taking the length and the height and everything of this one and placing it after that. But basically if we take this point here and move it all the way down, then we can use this down point as the pivot point, and then we can place our tooltip underneath our slot no matter what. So if we click on all the slots and make sure that their pivot point is in the top bottom left corner here, and just do it on all the shoulder and all the equipment slots like this, just for now. Like that. And we take the ring here, this, and then the braces and the boots. And in the end we need the trinket. There we go. Okay, so let's just save the scene. So we have that. So now we need to go to our inventory script, and in here we have something called show tooltip, and here we are using the slot padding and everything to place the tooltip. So right now it has no effect basically. If we would do like this and run our game and equip something, it will still be placed very wrong. As you can see now, it's placed like very much down compared to where the actual item you are mousing over is. So if we wanted to get it closer to our actual slot here, we can simply go in here and we can say that the X position is equal to transform the slot position here dot X, and the same here without adding into account that extra offset here. So now we're going to place it directly where we want it on that little point. So we can save this and go in here. And now you can see the what is it called? The tooltip on the normal items is wrong right now, but we're going to fix that as well. I'm not even sure if I can click on these now. I can't even equip them, can I? We need to fix it before we do that. So basically we can make sure that it shows the tooltip differently on the character panel. So if we go to the character panel, or actually in the inventory, if we make this public virtual show tooltip, then we are going to virtual void, of course, show tooltip. We're going to the character panel, and down here we're going to say public override void show tooltip, and we're not going to call the base. We're going to go to the inventory, and we're going to copy all this in here in the show tooltip, paste it in here, and then we should say is open with large capital letter. So what I just did is that I overrode the original tooltip on my character panel. So when we mouse over a character panel, it's going to use this functionality instead of the functionality in here in the show tooltip in here. So the difference should only be this. So we can just delete these comments here. Then we can go back to the inventory and increment these things and remove these. There we go. So now it should use this function here for tooltips on the character panel, not the character panel, the chest and the normal inventory, and it should use this functionality here where it does this on the what's called on the character panel. So let's see. Open up here, pick up some items. It shows the tooltip normally. Have an axe, we equip the axe, and we go down here, and as you can see, it still shows a lot under the place it should be. Okay, so let's try to go into the script and see if something is wrong in here in the character panel. If I look at that, it looks like it should be working. Actually, we could remove these functions here, or these variables here. Could actually just take these directly down here, because here we are setting some variables and we're not making any calculations, and we're using the variables down here. So basically, we should be able to set transform the position equals slot transform the position. Can you do this? Yeah. So we can set the position like this, and we can delete these. So what I just did didn't change anything, but it seems like this function here is not called at all. So I think I have an idea why it's not called. But if we run this, for example, if I write debug.log, and then I write what is this, char panel tooltip, just like this, then I don't think the code in here is being run at all, because what I just did didn't change anything. I think it shouldn't have changed anything. So you can see if we equip these things, and nothing's happening. It's not writing anything in the log here, as you can see. When I mouse over, nothing happens. So I think the reason that these are not being, that function is not being run is because we are calling the wrong function on our items here. Let's see, we have onClick move item. That doesn't really matter if it's from the inventory, but down here we'll see we have a pointer enter and a pointer exit, and they are all set to the inventory, which means that it runs the inventory script of pointer enter and pointer exit, which should show the tooltip and hide the tooltip. And hide and show the tooltip, it's exactly what we are trying to override so that we can show the correct tooltip. So basically we need to set the correct script here. We can select all of them: head, neck, shoulders, belt, chest, and so on. I think you can select all of them at once. And actually you can't. Multiple object editing is not supported for event triggers, so we have to do it manually. Okay, so head, we need to put char panel and char panel, and the same goes for neck, char panel, and then shoulders, char panel, and so on. So you need to select all these and add the char panel under the trigger script. Actually, I think I might be able to copy the component actually. Let's see if we can do that before we start dragging all this. Let's select our head, go to function, character panel, show tooltip, and down here we should find character panel and hide tooltip. So maybe I can copy component, yeah, and then I can go to neck, right click and paste values. There we go. Okay, so that's the way of doing it. I don't know if, no, I still can't do that. So I need to select them one by one and then paste component values after I've done that. That's actually quite fast compared to setting all of them. I don't know why I didn't think about that earlier. So when you have pasted all these values, so you're sure that every single slot in your inside your char panel is connected to char panel script and is using the correct function here. Of course we need to set the correct item here, but right now we just need to do like this: paste component values, and paste. Maybe this is not even gonna work. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so right now the head is selected. If I take the trinket, will it fail? No. So I need to select the correct slot, because right now it's trying to show tooltip on the head slot, even though it's a main hand I'm mouse overing. So we need to take the main hand and put it here, and the same goes for the rest of them. So the correct slot is referring to itself. So this work is a little redundant, but sometimes you have to do stuff like this. Okay, so now everything is set. And let's see, everything was fine inside the script. Let's try to run it. Let's try to open up here and equip some items. And if I mouse over, it's right char panel tooltip down here, and it shows the correct tooltip in the correct position here. So it doesn't go over my objects anymore. And it should work the exact same way in the other resolution here in the editor without full screen. Yeah, and it works fine here as well. So what we just did was to override the tooltip and set the position correctly here, as by using this anchor point down here instead of up here. So we overrode it so that it will work correctly for our char panel. Okay, so now we can actually open and close our character panel, and we can equip our stuff, and we can see the tooltips correctly, and we can de-equip our items by moving them back to the inventory or dropping them on the ground somewhere here. And we can equip them by dragging or right clicking on them. So I'm gonna wrap this part for now, and then in the next part we are going to look at the stats, because now we have all the base functionality down, and the next thing we need is to be able to calculate some stats so we can actually use these equip items for something. And we also need to add one more thing to the tooltip so that we can see what kind of item is. So if I mouse over this, I want to be able to see this as a belt, for example.